Today, I just want to talk a little bit about self-love, self-hate, self-doubt, and you know, as you'll see lately, I've just been uh, choosing to speak specifically to Black people and the Black community, um, and I want to specifically, talk to my people on the African continent, and there's obviously the diaspora, the Black community here in America. But I want to talk about it more from the perspective of, you know, um, the community that I grew up in, the Nigerian community, and understanding, seeing the self-hate in the African American community or the Black community in America, but also seeing it from a perspective of the self-hate in the communities I grew up in Nigeria. And it happens in our communities as well. So I want to talk about it from that perspective, because I haven't seen anyone do it, and it's something that we actually do need to talk about. So every African, I'll just speak for Nigerians. Most Nigerians know this. The moment you travel to America, everyone looks at you different. They think it, and I've often described it this way: like, America's seen as the promised land. The land flowing with milk and honey, and everybody's trying to get there by any means possible. So the moment you go overseas, specifically America, London, Nigeria, Africans, Nigerians specifically, they're tired of going to England. Like, you go to England, it's pretty much Nigerians. So speaking specifically about coming to America, people view it as heaven, really. They see it as heaven, like, you made it. And that's sad. That's sad, especially because you have no clue how Black people in America get treated. So that's why I'm here to educate you a little bit, and let you know it's not everything it seems to be. I mean, you look at the news, you can see today, they still getting killed for no reason. So the perspective, the view on coming to America from a Nigerian perspective, from a West African perspective, the view that everyone has is very skewed. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We'll get into that another time. But, the way foreigners get treated coming into our country in Nigeria is much better than we even treat ourselves. That says a lot about what we think about each other. When you're doing business with people in all the Black communities, they would rather pay more or view the services of others in a higher value than their own people. That's a lot of self-hate. And again, that's it's much deeper than I want to get into in this video. But it's a lot of the things that are plaguing us, is self-hate. For my Nigerians, we're the ones with the natural resources. You look at Nigerians are the most successful people, Black people. Actually, in general, I forget what the stats are. Don't quote me on this, but I just heard that recently. Like, Nigerians are some of the most successful, even in America, financially. That says a lot. You look at the educational system. I mean, it goes. We already know how our parents raised us. You got to be a doctor. You got to be a lawyer. You got to be an engineer. You got to be all these things. I mean, you look at the success rate of Black graduates in America. Most of them will be African, in a large majority Nigerian, right? There's a lot of different things you can look at and say, we are obviously very intelligent, very smart people. We have all the resources we need at home. Yet all the time I'm having conversations and people call me on WhatsApp and saying, like, complaining about government this, government that. And it's like, man, instead of trying to leave so bad, like, we have everything right there. We're just not using it because we see somebody else's land is better. There's just a lot of self-hate, and this partly got inspired by watching Meek Mill's interview and kind of seeing his movement and what he's going through. Like, I've been trying to explain that to some people who know some of the personal stuff I've been going through and have gone through over the last few years. And it's just hard to explain to people who haven't gone through the system or don't understand that system, to say, this is how it really goes down. You can, especially not Africans, you can't really explain it to them because that's not the system we have in our countries, right? And we come into this new country with a different perspective, with a different mindset. You come with a Nigerian mindset. It's different. You come into a new system, you kind of have to learn how to play that system. And that's why I make my comments about black people still being slaves, because even with people of that stature and that status in the States, they have all the money, they have all the fame, obviously they have more pull within the black community here in the States than I do. Yet they still experience the same things, the same system. They're still cautious about what they have to say because it could be gone just like that for nothing. And I'm not going to get too much into that. I still got my own thing I got to deal with. So to be honest, it's just I want to talk about that self-hate and understanding self-love. And that's why I started putting these out there, because I want us to love ourselves more and understand how great we are. This is our problem. That's why I'm always speaking to black people, because we have a lot of self-hate. And I experienced that coming into the States, is not loving where I came from, not loving my own language, not loving my own clothes. Like, it's almost like they made me want to hate everything about being African, about my skin. I never knew I was dark until I came to the States, and unfortunately it also came from the black community within the States. So, and that's why you have those, issues or conversations about, Africans and African Americans. And, it all comes down to that self-hate. That's why there's so many killings amongst ourselves, not just in America, but even in Nigeria. I grew up in northern Nigeria, in Jos. You already know the crises that go on in the north, That's all self-hate. We kill each other for nothing. We kill each other for something somebody else brought in, and that's what has divided us. That's unfortunate. So I want to preach self-love and really loving who we are. Yeah, I love how dark I am, because shit, I don't need to go get a tan. Everybody trying to get, it's a whole business just to get darker. Yeah, you make fun of the color of my skin. Like, nah, self-hate is unfortunate, but nobody's going to change it but us, but you. You got to love everything about who you are. Everything. Everything we have a deeper history than any other race on earth. If that doesn't say enough, then that's unfortunate. Again, from just speaking from the Nigerian African perspective, there's so much that has been fed to us for a long time, where we're so desperately trying to get out. But if you only understood, at least from my perspective, I've seen both sides. Oftentimes I'm talking to people in Nigeria who've never even been out, and they're trying to tell me how this shit works. I mean, yeah, I've lived here for how long? I'm trying to tell you how it works because I live in it, you know. So if you're not taking my word for it, that's the problem. We often don't want to hear from our own people about the truth. We'd rather hear it from somebody white or somebody Asian or somebody Lebanese. That's self-hate. You know, we don't want to. We'd rather give contracts to foreigners. Look at what's going on the African continent. Like, the Chinese are taking over everything, but that's nothing new. First, we let Caucasians come in and take everything. Then you had, in Nigeria at least, you had the Germans and the Middle Easterners. As soon as we came into it, all the contracts, everything goes out to foreigners before it gets to us. That's why there's so much anger within the people. But again, I mean, I sometimes get that because the quality of work has to be done, right? It's just the mentality. I guess that's what it comes to, is what I'm trying to say, is this self-hate is it's a mental issue, and I don't have the answers all to how to solve that, but you know, mental health is a real thing. Nigerian parents, you got to know it's a real thing, and if you don't start getting your kids on track, this is just going to be a generational thing that keeps going on and on and on and on. Like, now it's a lot more okay to discuss mental health and the PTSD that's very real. Like, if you've been through any crisis in the North, you've been through there's definitely some PTSD. Definitely some PTSD in there, you know? And our culture just seem not to believe it. They you know, this guy, I bet, we think they talk. This mental health, I beg, just get over it. Like, how can you just get over it? Like, no, we got to discuss those things. And I talk about that with some good friends of mine that we grew up together in Nigeria, like, you know, through school, through JAWS, through Nyango, like, grew up through the whole times. And you know, one of them's a mental health professional, and that's one of his things, and I'm proud of that. So, you know, big up to him. Nanma, big up to you, man. Like, it's much needed. We need more of those discussions because our parents' generation weren't raised like that and didn't have that. But that doesn't mean we have to keep that cycle going, you know. So, yeah, we got to deal with our mentality. Our mentality is what causes the self-hate, and hopefully we can change that around through little things, through discussions, to start making self-love more popular rather than all the hate all the time. So again, I love you, black people, and my name is Shalom.